Ladies and gentlemen, there is a book that is waiting to be written. SBI and the Secret of the Sealed Covers. I tell you, it will be a bestseller. The plot is already in front of us. 18 days ago, the Supreme Court of India did two things. First, it scrapped electoral bonds, which were the primary source of funds for political parties. Then, it told India's largest bank, that is the State Bank of India, that on 6th of March, that is tomorrow just by the way, details of all the donors, who they donated to, and how much they donated to be given to the Election Commission of India, which will then make this information public. The court said, after all, an election is upon us and voters have a right to know who is funding their favorite political party. But ladies and gentlemen, after 17 days of that order, and exactly 48 hours before the deadline was to end, the SBI suddenly woke up and went to the Supreme Court seeking more time. This happened yesterday. And let's say their move came as absolutely no surprise to anyone. What was a bit of a surprise, though, was the excuse that has been offered. The SBI is the country's only bank that is authorized to issue and encash electoral bonds. It told the Supreme Court that the details of the donors and receivers are in 44,000 sealed envelopes, which are in their Mumbai main branch. Now, the SBI argues that the process to match donor to receiver is time-consuming and it will take at least 3 months more. That is till the elections are over. In life, ladies and gentlemen, timing is everything. Essentially, India's largest bank with the biggest UPI footprint in the world is telling all of us, citizens of India, that no central database was maintained by them and details of donors were kept physically sealed in various different branches like they did in the 1980s and 70s and 60s. The reason they say is because the electoral bond scheme was designed in a way to keep the identity of the donors anonymous, which is why they didn't digitize it just in case someone hacked it. Then their identity would become public. So they say that all of it was put in sealed covers. Take a moment, dear viewers, and let that sink in. In an era where almost every single transaction has been made digital, India's biggest public bank is saying information on electoral bonds was not digitized. The opposition obviously caught on and accused the SBI of hiding information to seal the BJP. The largest beneficiary of these electoral bonds, almost 60% of all the money that has come into electoral bonds has gone to the BJP. The first to attack the BJP was none other than Rahul Gandhi. Mr. Gandhi says that the SBI seeking 4 months for a job which can be completed at the click of a button proves dal mein kuch kala nahi, puri dal hi kali hai. Rahul Gandhi is also accusing the centre of using SBI, like the ED and the CBI, to protect the corrupt. The Congress took that forward. The Association for Democratic Reforms, the chief petitioner in the electoral bond case, is now saying that they are going to oppose the SBI's plea in the Supreme Court tomorrow. Question is, will the Supreme Court accept the SBI's bahana and grant them more time? Or will Indian voters finally get to know who gave how much money to which party? Mr. Pathania is spokesperson of the BJP. He's joining us on the broadcast. Matthew Antony is spokesperson of the Congress party. Jagdeep Chokar is co-founder of ADR, and Subhash Chandra Garg is a former finance secretary of India. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Jagdeep ji, can I come to you first? I want to ask you, ab dekhiye Supreme Court, you know, what they have put out in front of the SBI, what they have put out in front of the Supreme Court is some big numbers. They are saying there are 44,000 sealed envelopes and we have to match donors with the receivers. Ye to bahut kaam hai and it will take a lot of time. And the people should accept that it will take a lot of time because these are 44,000 sets of information that we are talking about, but we need time after elections. Why is that unreasonable? Why is it unbelievable? Why are you challenging that in court tomorrow?
Well, if you read the application of the State Bank of India, there are many interesting things that come out. The first thing is that, as you said, the largest bank in India, the largest provider of unified payments interface, etc., did not know till 17 days after the order that it could not fulfill what the order was wanting it to do. So that's it in itself is a commentary on how the SBI seems to be working. I don't think they are working like that, but that is how it seems to be working. The other issue, if you read paras 11 and 12 of their application, you will get this impression that when somebody buys a bond, and the example that I would use is somebody buys a bond in Delhi, gives it to a party in Lucknow, and the party takes it to Calcutta and deposits it in a branch in Calcutta. So the Calcutta branch will deposit that money in the account of the party without checking anything with the Delhi branch. This is actually quite sensational, which I find unbelievable. Because even if I give you a check for 500 rupees or whatever amount, beyond a certain amount,
Correct.
it will be sent to the issuing branch. Now, the paragraphs 11 and 12 of the application say exactly this, that these two pieces of information are in different silos. And each of these, as you have rightly said, is in a sealed cover. And the what is in the sealed cover has no digital footprint anywhere. I mean, we are talking of an era where, 40, 50 years ago, when I was much younger, if you wanted railway reservation done, they would open a big register and write in that register. I mean, this is what seems to be happening to electoral bonds in the SBI. And therefore, and they are wanting to Supreme Court to believe this, a Supreme Court which has digitized its own working. The Chief Justice tells lawyers that if you bring a paper file, I will not listen to you. You bring a digital file on your laptop. I have heard it being said in the court. Now, that Supreme Court will believe that this will take 4 months.
We'll see. So tomorrow is when you're challenging it in court. So we'll see what the Supreme Court says. I find it very hard to believe that the Supreme Court will believe what the SBI is saying. But Subhash Chandra Garg, the State Bank of India is the people's bank. It is the bank of the people of India. It is not the bank of the government of India. It is the bank of the people of India. We put our trust into the State Bank of India and we expect a certain degree of transparency from them. Are we to believe, am I to believe, India's largest bank takes 17 days to wake up to the fact that they cannot scrutinize and decipher 44 quote-unquote sealed envelopes? Now, I would imagine that if the Supreme Court of India has given you an order, you will quote-unquote unseal and decipher those sealed envelopes and put out information of donors and receivers. If you want to do it, you can do it in 48 hours. ये बहानेबाजी आपके हिसाब से ये बहानेबाजी चल रही है or does the SBI really have a case?
I think it's very transparently a very lame kind of excuse. There is no reason to believe what SBI is saying. But let me just tell a couple of things which I think we need to understand as we go along. The information about which account any particular electoral bond was bought is electronic. And this is available in the SBI database all the time. The information about which bank account of which political party the proceeds of the electoral bond was deposited is also electronic. And that is with core banking, whether you deposit it in Calcutta or Bangalore or anywhere, the account is common, it comes into the same account. That information is also electronic and available. So the information regarding the buyer and the depositor and the three pieces of information which the Supreme Court asked them to provide: which bond, which date, who bought. This is all that Supreme Court said. Likewise, which
Correct.
Denomination of bond, which date, and who received. These three pieces of information was asked. This is also electronic. So what Supreme Court has asked them by way of direction is all electronic information which must be available. and should be accessible in 10 minutes, not 10 days or 10 weeks. The second part, which perhaps the
Okay.
SBI is taking an excuse of, is the physical bond. The physical bond which was issued and the physical bond which was received. That has been collected. 22,000 bonds were received and issued, and
Okay.
22,000 bonds were received. These are physical bonds. They might be lying somewhere. In my judgment,
ठीक है.
nothing is required to be seen from those bonds. What SBI is saying that we will connect which bond was bought by whom and which bond was deposited by that particular bond. That is not what the Supreme Court has
Okay.
asked. And therefore, what Supreme
Okay.
Court
So,
orders,
Mr. हाँ.
compliance with that will not take more than a day.
Essentially, then, Okay, so essentially, Mr. Garg, you're telling me that the SBI is fibbing. 10 minute का काम है. 17 दिन बाद they are realizing they have woken up to say नहीं हो पाएगा. But what they are doing is fairly transparent. R.S. Pathania, why would I mean, you know, let me get in Matthew Anthony to make his charge. 1 minute, sir. Let me get in Matthew Anthony as well, Congress spokesperson. Mr. Anthony, why is Rahul Gandhi saying पूरी दाल ही काली है?
Shreya, thanks to be in the show
Supreme
again.
Court में मामला है ना. Tomorrow we will see whether dal is. Okay, hi, good evening.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Let me tell you this, that Prime Minister Modi is not going to remain the Prime Minister forever in India. So I would like to remind the SBI chairman, Dinesh Kumar, that do you remember who was Chanda Kochar sometime back and who is Chanda Kochar right now? There is no agency which is going to protect Dinesh Kumar and his accomplices in the conspiracy when they are trying to protect someone, when the Supreme Court has made it an unconstitutional one as electoral bond. And when the Supreme Court has told that on February 15th that you should produce these records by the 6th of March, and if they're conspiring against it by whatsoever pressure or under whose pressure they are in, they are allegedly acting against an unconstitutional thing, so it's an act against the state. So tomorrow, when a government changes, all its perks of retirement and everything will not be can be enjoyed under behind the bars for the simple reason that the Congress government or the India Alliance government, the moment it comes to power, we will have an action against it. Now, what Rahul Gandhi has said, he has been at the time of the issuance of the electoral bond itself has very clearly told that this is something to kind of convert money of threat, money of black money into a system. There is no transparency at all. Now, companies like Infosys is providing the core banking like Finacle, and SAP is providing it. Why it is taking, the entire SBI is insulting the intelligence of the people of India. Is insulting the intelligence of the Supreme Court.
Please.
Okay, Mr. Pathania, Matthew Anthony is saying that what the SBI is doing at the behest of the government is insulting the intelligence of the country, its citizens, and the Supreme Court. What is the problem that the BJP has with transparency? Bhai, hum sabko pata hai that 60% of the electoral money via electoral bonds has gone to the BJP. Kya chupa rahe hain is samay?
Shreya, thank you very much. And first of all, a very good evening to everybody on board. My respectful submission that India is still a democracy in a state of churn, and an electoral system and electoral financing too in a state of churn. We moved the system from gunny bags, from suitcases to electoral bonds. We went one step ahead. And on a positive side, Supreme Court said, no, move 2 steps ahead. We welcome it. We respect it. We respect the Honorable Supreme Court's judgment. But with due respect
Mr.
and all
Pathania,
responsibility...
No. See, that question has been decided upon, right? Electoral bonds have been scrapped. वो अच्छे थे, बुरे थे, वो दूसरी बात है, they have been scrapped. Point is, why does the SBI want to hide the name of donors who have donated to various political parties, including the BJP? इसमें छुपाने की वाली क्या बात है?
I'm not represented SBI in this show, madam. I am simply representing the Bharatiya Janata Party's viewpoint. My respectful submission is that no need, with due respect and all responsibility to Congress, to ADR, and to everybody on board, and to all the fence hitters too, please don't create a hulla bellow out of thin air. No need to create a storm in a teacup. Bharatiya Janata Party, one thing is very simple and clear, which
Okay.
and that is but natural. A
अच्छा,
party
Mr.
that
Pathania,
is
you are
in power-
telling us, ठीक है,
A party
हाँ,
which is in
ठीक है,
power.
you are saying that this
And not
is
dispute-
creating a storm in a teacup. India's largest
Absolutely.
bank is telling us that it cannot make details that the Supreme Court wants
I'm not
made
defending-
public
I'm-
because
what-
everything is in physical form and in sealed
Please.
envelopes. Are we to
One-liner,
believe as
one-liner.
citizens of this country that
One-liner.
India's biggest bank, is not driven by technology? And it has somehow missed the bus as far as digital India is concerned. Mr. Patania, तो कोई नहीं believe करेगा. Even your best friends will not believe it. Mr. Patania, I'm out of time. 10 seconds और खत्म करिए.
One line. First of all, I am not representing State Bank of India here in Open. Secondly, I never said this. I never defended this. I simply said the way the opposition has behaved, the way Congress has went hammer and tongs against and while trying to encash on the Supreme Court judgment, I think this is a storm in a teacup. Bharatiya Janata Party respects.
Okay, Mr. Patania, we'll leave it there. It's the job of the opposition.
Supreme Court went 2 steps ahead.
It's the job of the opposition. अगर कुछ गलत हो रहा है तो it's the job of the opposition to call it out. They're just doing their jobs. They don't do it very well, but कभी-कभी कर लेते हैं. Mr. Patania, we'll leave it there. Time over. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Matthew Anthony, thank you very much. I wish this should have been a longer chat. This was interesting. Maybe tomorrow, maybe some other time. Jagdeep Chokar, thank you very much. Subhash Chandra Garg, thank you very much for joining us as well and giving us a perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, completely out of time. Thank you for watching. Shreya is joining you at the top of 9 with all the day's headlines. Do stay with us.